Hi, Paul the Ultimate Vaden, a retired world champion boxer, and today I'm a motivational speaker, corporate consultant, what have you. So very happy to be here.
Well, let's start at the beginning. Thank you for being on, by the way. Let's start at the beginning. What gets a young man or a young child, I guess, to say, you know what? I want to pursue a profession where people hit me in the face.
Well, it's a good question, but it's just Muhammad Ali. That's plain and simple. I see him on TV and I see him often, and I want to be him and I want to echo everything that he does. And I'm 4 years old at the time, so
Wow.
he was my superhero. He was my Superman. He was my Batman, and he was the person that I don't know. I guess I just would look to as far as when I saw excellence. And so that's how I got, 8 years old. I got started with an avenue with the Jackie Robinson YMCA. Had an individual by the name of Mr. Robert Coons, who taught me the art of boxing and say what makes me want to get hit. The beauty of boxing is with the fluidity and the way that Muhammad Ali was boxing. And as I watched and studied him, he was not getting hit.
Right.
It was effortless in what he was doing. And the teachings that Mr. Robert Coons had bestowed upon me was about hitting 3, 4, 5, and sometimes 6 times in succession without getting hit. So
Right.
there's a beauty to it and an art to it that I was able to take on and wanted to further cultivate it. So that's how I got started 8 years old. Muhammad Ali is the reason why, though.
Well, it's funny that we literally just posted before I got on with you. We did a review of the Ali Foreman fight.
Ooh.
And we did, since Ali Foreman and Frazier were all born in January, we started with Ali Frazier, 1. Then we went to Foreman Frazier, and then Foreman Frazier 1, and we did Ali Foreman. And we just posted it this morning. We did the show yesterday. And it's the great thing about what you mentioned is the artistry of Ali as young Ali was just, you never see anything like it.
Right.
But in this fight against Foreman, it's like there's an artistry if you know what you're looking for.
Correct.
But it was also, it's like the mind of, I've decided in a split second, whatever we train to do, I'm going to do this because it's going to work. And to be that skilled at what you do and that intelligent is amazing.
Well, interestingly, Ali Foreman is my favorite victory, and not just in boxing, but in life. So when I think of times of being on the ropes, I think of Ali Foreman. Ali Foreman in 1974, I was not even boxing yet, but I can remember my father and his friend Mr. Tim, who were in our den, listening to the radio, getting round by round, and we're nervous, and this sense of nervousness about Muhammad Ali not only losing but potentially being hurt to high extremes because of just devastation that Mr. Foreman exhibited in the ring. So they were concerned, but to see him win and the jubilation, to see him endure and overcome and become stronger and withstand once you saw the match, it was unbelievable. And I speak on adaptation all the time when I'm talking to different corporations, just people as a whole. So, and with myself and growth. And so I always look back on Ali Foreman, Muhammad Ali at 32 years of age. At the time, that was considered old, for a boxer, and to box this individual at his height, Mr. George Foreman, and to overcome. I always look at Ali Foreman as, to me, as the greatest victory. It was definitely significant in my life. So it's interesting you brought that up.
Well, we looked at that, and there were 2 redemption stories there. There was the one that just occurred, which was Muhammad Ali, and then there's the one that occurs 20 years later, which is George Foreman.
Correct.
So it tells you win, lose, or draw, you can overcome.
Yes.
If you put your mind to it. And it may not be 3 seconds later. It may be 20 years down the road before you reap the benefits, but you still put your nose to the grindstone and keep moving.
And think of that transformation that you just said. Foreman was a totally different individual, and then he looked, I guess he learned fruits from the Ali experience. I mean, then he would lose to Jimmy Young, obviously, in 1977, and then go away from the ring forever, and then come back wanting to regain this heavyweight title. And it was like, now he had this, I'm not joking when I say this cheeseburger smile, and he became this, corporate pitchman, and people weren't taking him seriously, but he was now lovable when people were scared of him, and people now wanted to be close and embrace him.
Right.
And he embraced them right back when that did not happen in Zaire nor those matches before with the other individuals. To me, that was the greatest transformation as far as an athlete, in my opinion, the George Foreman, for what he was, because people don't understand that who don't follow boxing. And I say, you should have watched him when he was at this stage, before he fought Muhammad Ali while he was boxing. But he also learned from that experience. It took, like you said, 2 decades approximately, or whatever it took for him to come back to the ring. But he learned something from it and was able to use that against Michael Moore.
Well, I think the thing about George Foreman was that you see the picture from the '68 Olympics when he's waving the flag, and he had a big smile on his face.
Correct.
Which when you represent your country, you would.
Right.
And then he said, you know what? I have to become Sonny Liston.
Right.
I've got to be the big bear. And that wasn't him. And we find out, as the pitchman and all that later, he went back to being who he was. So that's pretty cool. Right. Well, how do you get to that level from San Diego?
Well, to the level, it's just through work, through belief, through things like I said, repetition, respect for repetition, respect for discipline, respect for people, respect for the art of boxing, understanding that you never arrive, understanding that there's always a higher ground that you can achieve. So that means you're always working, always thinking, always creating, always teachable. So I think as from a youngster, I've always was listening, always was trying to soak in something, being that sponge, endless sponge, and just taking in ingredients of other individuals, watching a film, listening to people. Like I said, Ali, and then Sugar. You got to understand, I started boxing in the summer of 1976. So then I got introduced to Sugar Ray Leonard. So, a mini version of Muhammad Ali, and sort of following his recipes and what he was doing, and watching him project from, this amateur star, this Olympic gold medalist, to becoming a world champion, and watching him overcome and endure. And so I've been very blessed, and just to have individuals around me. I always had people in my life that were willing to help me. For Archie Moore, the late great Archie Moore, was he's not from here, but he lived in San Diego, and he was always willing to give wisdom, always willing to watch. And when you have individuals, giants, who are watching you, there's something that escalates in your system that makes you want to continue to thrive, continue to make sure that you uphold what they see in you. So I've been very blessed to have people around me. And of course, you always have naysayers, because like you said, that's to want to become this world champion since you were 4 years old. There's going to be people that are going to try to prohibit your course by telling you something negative, or just wanting to be in the way of it. But like I said, I had enough pioneers to read. I had enough individuals of high influence to tell me where I can go, and also help me get to that path.
Now, does all that knowledge that you soak in give you the confidence that maybe on paper you probably shouldn't have? The question I'm asking is, when you say, I'm going to fight Vincent Pettway, mm-hmm. How do you think I can win this fight? Because we're looking at a world champion and against someone who maybe doesn't have that pedigree, that experience of the people you fought at that level before that fight.
Yeah, it's a good question. Fortunately, because of my extensive amateur career, I've had some, once again, as you keep growing and understand that you're still teachable, and understand that there's always a next level. So you're always willing to grow and willing to stretch. So through my extensive amateur career, I've had some unbelievable talent that has been around me. I've opposed some unbelievable talent. I've sparred with some unbelievable talent. I've worked out with unbelievable talent. I mean, incredible talent. And so after a while, you start to understand, even when others don't understand, that you belong, and that you're going to be able to showcase your skills. Of course, your strong faith as well. And so you base in all these intangibles. And once again, remember, at 4 years old, I've been writing this script as far as my life. I've been waiting for this moment. So despite the odds, despite like I said, what people saying, what's going to be this mountain of a opportunity, I believe that I can overcome, because it was Vincent Pettway had just he's an unbelievable fighter, cagey fighter, and a great champion who I have immense respect for. But my script was calling for me to do what I wanted to become since I was 4.
So on our end, as the pundits, we're saying, he just fought Simon Brown. Right. He just went 2 fights with a draw with Gianfranco Rossi. Right. I mean, this guy has gone through the wars, and on your side, you're saying
stop him.
Right. And your side, you're going, I'm prepared for this because I've been preparing all my life.
This moment has always been with me. I've looked at the man in the mirror and been waiting. I've made this declaration in my 3rd grade class. I made this promise in Mrs. Murchison's 3rd grade class, what was going to be, when everyone was chuckling or asking me what was my second option, and there was no second option. This had to be. I trained for this moment. I've cried for this moment. I've worked for this moment. I've through losses, I've come back for this moment to find out. So everything, and because I did find out about it, and because it was achieved, I believe I can do anything, and that transitions to everything else going. So yes, the pundits were telling me, you're too nice, you smile too much, and right. and all these other things that were going to, but they didn't understand the intensity as a competitor that I am. They didn't understand that I have looked and challenged myself daily. No one believed in me more than I believed in myself. So this moment had to happen. It just did, because it was in my script.
Now, I'm sure you've been asked this question 1,000 times, but when they raise your hand and they say "and new," what goes through your head? What's the first thought?
Until my son was born in 1996, December 8th. But until that moment, it was the most indescribable feeling I've ever felt. Until my son was born, I can't even, trying to convey it to you right now. I'm feeling chills trying to, describe it to you. It's unbelievable, because it is, even though I had this in my script, it's in a lot of individuals' script. It's in a lot of people's right. dreams. It's in a lot of people want, and in most cases, it doesn't happen. So to see it realized, and considering everything that had transpired, I got engaged 2 weeks before, a lot of stuff. It was just everything coming together.
Boom.
And just everything, just a perfect film that was, with the credits that, go and what have you. So an unbelievable feeling that I can't properly describe, and ever will be able to.
Well, and we make on our show, and in general, I think we make a big deal about, well, there's so many weight classes, and there's so many divisions, and there's so many belts and all that, but there are only so many people that can say they're world champion.
Right.
And now when you carry that down the road, let's say you realize, I'm not boxing anymore. I'm not boxing professional anymore. Mm-hmm. But you still have that in your head. How does that prepare you for the rest of life?
Right. And that's a good question, because as I got close to the journey, after I started having these relationships that came in my life, I started to understand that boxing was a small piece of who I am and what I can do. It was preparing me for other aspects of life that I was going to have other mountains that I needed to obtain to be the full, wellness of Paul the Ultimate Vaden. There was other avenues I needed to, like I said, attain other mountains. So I started to understand I had a bigger purpose, a bigger responsibility. And I think the wealth of these intangibles that boxing has given me are just have been imperative to the places to where I currently am and where I'm going to go. So I always tell boxers, your light does ever have to turn off. They always say, what happens when the light is removed? First off, you're in a rare fraternity that they can never remove you from. They just can't. And that's why you see people call you champ and all these other things. It's like the president. They always call, Mr., this is president or what have you. And so it's what you do with it and how you transition and how you take these pieces. And I think a lot of times we lose that. We think, oh gosh, I don't box anymore. People aren't calling me this and that. When you're not taking like I said, these intangibles that you learn from. You have a story, you have a blueprint on success. Now it's about how do you take this and transition it to something else.
Well, I think you mentioned something from fourth grade or the age of 4 and moving forward. You realize you're not a finished product.
Right. Never
So
done.
when you become the heavyweight champion, that doesn't mean you're a finished product. Or I'm sorry, the champion. Not sorry to mean the heavyweight, but
Right.
when you become the champion, it doesn't mean you're a finished product. It
No.
means you've achieved a goal that you had in your mind for a long time, but there's still more growth to go.
Your work is never done. I just turned 53 last month, and my work is, I feel like I have just begun. I mean, there's so much work to be done. There's still training sessions. There's still growth. There's so many areas that I can be. There's better work ahead, and so that's a beautiful thing when you know that you don't know, and so there's other places that I can go with this, but because the orchestration of my career and where I've gone and what I've gone through and had to overcome, it gives me a lot of what I call equity as far as the places that I want to go. When I talk to you, people look at me because they know that where I had to go, the tunnels that I had to go through, and I didn't turn back. I went through them, or I went around them strategically, just like a boxer. I had to go back to the corner and I had to think and reinvent myself, but always with the mindset of that champion. So I carry every aspect of my life as a champion, wanting to win, but with that endurance, that stamina, everything that exists in that boxing champion, I try to carry into my life, business or even personal.
Well, we tried to schedule this a few months ago,
Yeah.
and you were celebrating the anniversary of the championship.
Right.
How do you take that experience, that anniversary, and how do you take that and spin that into what you're doing now and create a positive impact on others?
Well, the fact that 25 years later that I'm more, relevant than ever, meaning the fact that 25 years later that people remember, but it's also where I say this as humble as possible, but where I currently sit and where my priorities and my responsibilities are currently, what the things that I'm doing, the things that I'm involved with, the fact that I'm as vital as ever, the fact that I'm as exuberant about the things that I'm involved with, the people I'm involved with. And like I said, always about the future, the next round, the next encounter. There's something else out there for me to tackle or to obtain. So 25 years later, to know that is, there's so many other things that have happened since those 25 years ago that are today at 53 that I'm still doing, that I'm still ongoing. And I'm so thankful for that.
And it seems like a wonderful thing to be able to reach back and reach forward at the same time.
People, they use this word about, what do they say? You rest on your laurels. And I say, I don't believe it's that. I call it reminders. I think people sometimes need to be reminded of what's in them and what can be. So it's not like resting on your laurels. It's sometimes you do need that reminder to look at something and go, oh yeah, that's me. Now, how do I get back in that place, and how, and through hard work, and what other avenues, and who can I look to? Who can I listen to? Because there's always something out there. I mean, I work out all the time. And so I'm watching a lot of these young talents today and seeing what they're doing, because guess what? I'm still a sponge. I still can learn how to be a better boxer, from a technical aspect, not from a competition standpoint, but just trying to be better and thrive and work. And like I said, remain vital. I'm not trying to be 25, 27 years old again. I'm trying to be the best version of Paul the Ultimate Vaden. I think sometimes you have to have those reminders and reach back and look at others.
Well, I think from where we started, we're talking about Muhammad Ali and his redemption. And I believe that his redemption taught George Foreman his redemption. And then you are intermingled with Archie Moore, who was in George Foreman's corner during that. We see that all these things, all these people come into our lives for a reason at particular times, even if we don't understand them. Correct. So you're learning from Archie Moore, who's, I mean, that's got to be insane.
Well, it's like such things they say coincidence that these people have come into my life, and not only that, his family, that they're in touch with me and what have you. So you keep learning, and there's always things that you don't know, and then you find out if you continue to study and still continue to do research. You go, gosh, I didn't know he did that or she did that. Well, sometimes it's not for you to know at that moment, because maybe you have to go deeper into the well of who you are and to learn that about the individual. Maybe you weren't ready for that. Maybe it was over. It's like I've read the book The Greatest 14 times. Okay, and someone says, well, why do you read a book for the same book? The same thing. And I said, well, because at the age I was first reading it, I didn't know certain things. I didn't know what that meant. And so the more I read, the more invested. I watched Rocky 1 and over and over, because when I was a kid, I was a year into my boxing career when the first Rocky came out. So being that young, I'm not going to understand everything that's going on. I see the boxing, I see the technical aspect, but I don't understand what's being, the words being spoken and some of the things that, but as I gradually get older, of course I start to understand. So I believe that, situations that happen like that, you have to sometimes, once again, have those reminders and go back to that place and see where they sit you today, and still have that same, where you don't just be blasé about being nourished by learning. See, I'm when you're nourished by something with excitement, means I'm going to learn something different about reading. So that 14th time that I read, each time I read The Greatest, or each time I watch, I'm like, Michael Jackson is my other, each time I watch a performance or an interview or something, and I'm studying. I'm not just looking as a fan. I'm looking as a student, trying to nourish something that I'm going to be able to pull into what I do in my delivery to be the best, Paul the Ultimate Vaden, or anyone else. It doesn't matter. I nourish what's before me.
I wonder what we would do with our days if we knew everything we wanted to know.
Yeah,
what would be the point?
Yeah, what would be the point of going? It's like the individual. I've said this a long time ago. I'm not interested in the people I work with. I'm not interested in the person who so-called believes they have it all. Right. I'm not interested, because how can I help the person who has it all? There's nothing, and I always preface that by saying I work like my next meal depends on it, no matter what. You don't even know. I work like my next meal depends on it, and I will continue to. Like nothing has happened in my life, and like I'm constantly trying to prove myself, that I'm behind on the scorecards, that I need a knockout. So when you have that level of intensity, of focus, it's a pretty dangerous opponent to or a teammate to have, a great teammate to have on your side, because that individual is about accountability. You don't have to worry about the individual. You don't have to worry about me being up in the morning and meeting, because I'm already up doing things, ready to go. You don't have to worry about me falling asleep at night on time, because I'm up and I'm ready and I'm studying or I'm working. Yeah. So, I want to be that go. That's what I work to be, that go-to individual.
Well, that's the essence of what I do, or why I do it. I learn something every day from whomever I speak with. And it may not be something that I deem important today, but 3 months down there, I go, when I was talking to, and there's always something. And then that's the great thing of being able to communicate with people. Amen. And that's the great thing of, as you said, being up and ready to go. Yep. I had the opportunity to talk to a gentleman the other day, and it was 9 o'clock in the morning. And he's like, I was like, you're not awake yet?
Nope. That's right.
You're not, get some coffee in you. Let's go.
Yeah. Exactly.
It's time to get rolling. So, like we said, what would you do with your day if you didn't have anything to learn?
Right.
I don't know.
It's beautiful to know that there's another level for us, meaning that that you have not arrived. To know, it's not deflating to the mindset. It's beautiful to know that, gosh, I can be better. I can do better work. Be in your thankfulness of what's currently been given to you, but to know that you have not arrived, to know that there's another level that you can go, to know that there's harder work out there, there's better work out there, And because sometimes you get signed, sometimes it takes a while. That's why you have to have, like I said, those intangibles of patience, to understand that sometimes it's a test to see, everybody wants to be, most cases wants to be something significant. But I think sometimes they don't understand the work that it takes. Sometimes they don't understand that sometimes you're turned around and said, by naysayers or someone saying the answer no. Sometimes, and that's part of the test. The first loss. I mean, I lost my first match. I didn't even know you made money boxing. Put it that way. When I said I wanted to become a champion of the world, I didn't even know you made money for it. But I understood even at a young age that there was something significant and rare about it. So, right. But I did want to win a trophy. I never had a trophy before. So I would lose my first fight in a match that I thought I won, in a match that I thought at 8 years old that I worked really, really hard for, which I did. I didn't win. And although I was deflated and although I was hurt, that Saturday afternoon of the summer of 1976, I could not wait till Monday rolled around. And the reason why was I couldn't wait to get back in the gym and try to right that wrong, to be able to garner that first trophy. And I would get it 1 month later. And I've had, I can't even count the amount of awards that as a boxer, as an amateur, but there's only one trophy as or something that I had actually my son has it, is that first trophy, because that first trophy it said more about me, about the attitude that I didn't say, hey, you know what, I tried hard, I'm going to stop and I'm going to now do something else. I'm going to play baseball. Because what happens is that becomes your pattern. Once that they say no to what you want to be, it usually, in a lot of cases, unfortunately, people exit stage right and they go on to something else. But what happens is that becomes repetitive, and you start to, once you get that no, or something you feel you deserve, that promotion or anything, that relational, that relationship, you exit life, and that becomes your life story, unfortunately. So I'm here to prove and teach, yes, and I'm here to show and be a vehicle of what can be, in a positive sense, even through storms and trials and tribulations.
Well, Paul, the Ultimate Vaden, we're happy to have you on the Ultimate Sports Network. We knew this had to connect one way or another. Man. So
there you go.
And we have the same mindset, and it's fantastic. I wish we had more time to talk to you. I like to circle back a little bit later. Again, this has been a few months in the making, so thank you for sticking with us, and thanks for providing information for people that I'm sure they can use.
I'm glad this happened. Thank you so much, and God bless you.